odds are you're not going to get into an Ivy League school. There's so much set in stone that you can't change about high school so far. So what's the point of even trying your senior year? We're going to go over that today because actually there's a lot you can do your senior year to still get in. There's also a chance that it might not really matter and that you don't need to go to an Ivy. And a lot of you who want to go to Ivies, actually you could probably get exactly what you think you can get from an Ivy at basically any school. So today we're going to go over how you can change your odds and get into an Ivy senior year, and also go over why it might not even matter to you. This might seem boring to a few of you, but I would really suggest staying for this part too. But for most of you, you just want to know how to get in. So let's go to that. Number one, you still have time to enhance your extracurriculars. Extracurricular score is really important for all Ivies. Certain Ivies rank them higher than others. Harvard really cares, Dartmouth really cares. I don't think Yale cares as much. I don't remember off the top of my head. You can look at the common data set for the Ivy League you're interested in to see where they rank extracurricular involvement, because if they rank it in the strongly consider, it's going to be in consider for all of them, but if they rank it in strongly consider rather than just consider, you should definitely be focusing on enhancing that. And the two main ways I would enhance that, other than like starting a club if you haven't done that, like if you don't have any leadership positions, you should probably start one. A club, I mean, just to have some leadership or get a leadership position. That's up to you. Two other things you could do, publications. There's a few places you can publish. It has that strange acronym, International High School Research Journal, whatever. It's the one that like everybody talks about. There's also a few other ones. There's a few science specific ones. Columbia has one. I think you still have a few publication cycles to get featured in one of these. Not be in time for early, but it would definitely be in time for regular decision because that's in January. So think about this. Another thing you do is competitions. If you can rank in a competition, particularly a national one, obviously regional is also good, but if you could do state or national, that'd be very helpful. We're just going over things that like increase your score off the bat, and a national ranking would just increase your extracurricular score. Really quickly, if you don't know, your portfolio is going to be scored for your academics, your extracurriculars, your personality. Everything is scored on a scale typically from 1 to 6, 1 being the highest, 6 being the lowest. You want to get that score as high as possible. For extracurriculars, one of the ways they do that is looking at the level of your involvement. So if you can get an involvement that's national, which would be either a competition or a publication is considered national, and also an honors, which is also a plus, big boost. So that's number one. What you can do is you still have time to improve your academic score. Most of you, I'm guessing, will be applying from high schools that have quarter grades. For your earlies, this is going to be really important because your senior year grades are the most important because you're taking your most difficult classes, right? I mean, if you are really trying to get into a really good school, you're probably taking BC and, AP Physics, that course C, whatever it's called. You also might not, obviously, but if you're not taking these two, you're taking other advanced courses. So they're going to want to see that you can hold your own in them. Another good thing about improving your academic score is that if you have a low GPA right now, but you bring it up your senior fall, that looks really good because it shows them that, one, you can try when you want to. Not that you weren't trying before, but like, you know what I mean. You can do well if you really put your mind to it. The other thing too is it could show growth. So if you have a low GPA, let's just say your freshman year, you got a lot of B's, and then your junior year, you get more B pluses, and then senior year, all of a sudden you're getting A's and you're taking even more difficult classes. You could even have your college counselor make sure they point this out. Be like, yeah, this student was having difficulty these years, but met with some sort of like academic counselor or tutoring or something, really stepped it up. So you can show growth, which would increase your academic score. And even if your academics have always been like A minuses or B pluses, so they've always been really good, if you can get it to like more A minuses and more A's senior year, it's great. That for regular decision, your senior year semester grades are going to be more important. Here's the other thing. You still have time to retake the ACT and SAT. So a lot of you are going to want to retake this to get a perfect score. If you have above a 1500 on the SAT, you don't need to retake it. If you have above a 34 on the ACT, you don't need to retake it. You can if you really want, but it's not important because if you have a 1500 or a 34 or above on your ACT or SAT and you don't get into an Ivy, the reason you didn't get in is not because of your ACT or SAT score. Just trust me, okay? Just take my word for it. If you want to know what score you should be targeting, I would do the 25th percentile. I've talked about this before. There's, people always talk about the average. It's 50%. There's also the 75th percentile. Go for this. Nobody cares about the 50%. It's more about the 25% because it means like if you're below this, like think it's so slim beneath here. These are going to be the people that have different admit categories. Maybe they're early, maybe they have a connection with the school, maybe they're donors, whatever. So you want to be above the 25th percent. And I know that kind of goes against what I'm saying here because some of the schools it's like a 1520, and I'm saying if you're at a 1500, you don't need to retake. I mean, yeah, obviously you can if you really want to, but that's also close enough where it's like, Probably that's going to be like basically right, oops. That's going to be like right here on the 25th. Just don't be down here, I guess is my point. Okay, fourth thing, your essays. Your essays are really important for IVs. There are two things you need to focus on with your essays. One is personality traits. Two is resources. So what do I mean by this? First, with your personality, IBs really care about personality. They really care. They like people. And when I say people, I don't mean that you go to parties, right? I mean that you are social. I am not social, but I still got in because I trained myself to be able to speak to adults nicely and in a way that makes them feel important. That's what I mean. It's just good. They want to see that you can network. They want to see that you could be a CEO. They want to see that you could be a partner at a law firm. You need to be well-spoken, and you need to be a leader. They really care about this. People push this, and it sounds like BS, but they really do care. So you can communicate this in a few ways. A really easy way to do it, though, is in your essays, because you're going to have your personal statement where you have 650 words to tell them something about yourself. It can be anything about your story. It can be about your narrative. It can be something that you don't feel is represented somewhere else in your application. Talk to them and showcase these personality traits in you. Another personality trait that you should be showcasing is your determination and your ability to take advantage of resources. So this gets into the second one here, which is these schools are huge. These schools are well endowed, and these schools have resources that they spend billions, maybe not billions, millions of dollars on. There are hundreds of thousands of people working for these specific resources that are underutilized. The Yale Rare Books Library. Yes, graduate students use them. It's not like these are underutilized resources in general, but they're typically underutilized by undergraduate students. You want these colleges to know that when you get to campus, you will be using their highly specialized resources. This is also very important in STEM. But in general, just talk about how you could use their highly specific resources, and you should be highlighting in your personality that you are somebody who takes advantage of opportunity. So if you ever had an opportunity that presented itself to you when you were in high school and you took advantage of it, I want you to write about that. This could be on your Common App, and it could be on your school-specific essays. Some Ivies as well, on other high-ranking schools like MIT, go to their website, go to their common data set. I already said that. But also just go to their website, and usually when they post the common data set, they have other information. They often write things that are important to them. Like MIT has a whole section on how like creation is important to them, which makes sense because, MIT startups, etc. Try to figure out what personality and what they're looking for, and target your school specific essays towards that. Your Common App should be more general because that will be going to all the schools, and that's where you could talk about these kind of grander personality traits, like, oh, yeah, I'm determined. Because no matter where you go, they're going to want to see that. Sorry. It's just really important for Ivy Leagues. Okay, don't leave, because this will hopefully cheer you up, and also probably for most of you, you won't end up going to Ivies, which is totally fine. Like, I really don't like how people talk about, like, if you don't go to an Ivy, you've failed, and you're some sort of, moron loser. I really never understood that. You get some of the most brilliant people. Like, I'm in grad school right now, and some of the people in my program are from schools that are not Ivies and are significantly smarter than a lot of people that I met during my time in undergrad. Like, significantly. And they're interesting, and they're varied, and once you get out of college, you realize it's more important what you do in college and what you do afterwards than the college you go to. The only exception for that is if you really want to go into a super competitive field like law and you want to be a partner, it's probably better to start at a super competitive school. But the other thing, if you want to go to grad school, is that it's going to be more important for you to go to a high-ranking school for your grad school. Like, I don't want to be a lawyer, which is great because my undergraduate grades sucked so bad, I don't think I could get into law school at this point. But if I wanted to, nobody would care that I went to Harvard undergrad if I went to a law school that wasn't that good. That actually looks suspicious to them. They'd be like, well, why'd you go to Harvard undergrad? And now all of a sudden you're at a law school that nobody's heard of and isn't even accredited. That would be me because my grades were really terrible. But my point is, if you want to go to a grad program, it can be good to go to an Ivy, but also it's going to be more important to go to a high-ranking school later on. Another thing that you should think about when it comes to Ivy Leagues is debt. Because if you want to go to law school or you want to go to med school, that is a lot of money, okay? And you should not do it because of the money, because these are professional degrees that guarantee you a certain level of income as long as you're going somewhere accredited. If you're going to a bottom 75 law school, I might consider not going just because you might not be able to get a job at that point. Legitimately speaking, there's an oversaturation of lawyers and they really care about prestige. So for law, it's a little different, but if you're going to a top 20 law or med school, a top 20 law, if you're going to any med school, you're going to get a job out of there that's going to be significantly higher paying than a job you could get without that degree. So it's worth it to take on the debt. When it comes to undergraduate degrees, most likely, if you're smart enough, well, everyone's smart. If you are smart enough on paper to get into an Ivy, you are also smart enough on paper to qualify for really good scholarships and also probably really good in-state tuition in whatever state you're in, because a lot of in-state schools give discounts for merit scholars. You should be highly considering whether or not you want to go into debt in your undergrad and then in your law and medical degrees as well, because it really adds up over time. Really be thinking about whether or not it's worth it for you to take out the debt. And note, if you make under 100K, most, if not all, Ivies give you free ride. And if you make like under 175, you get like partial, whatever. They're very generous with the money. So this is also something to consider if you're going to school that isn't an Ivy but is still high ranking. It's just think about debt. Debt is really important, and for most of you, what you probably want is you want a school that you can go to that looks good on paper, right? When you apply, it makes you a better person, it makes you smart, and it shows other people two things. One, that you're smart, and two, there might be a part of you wanting to go to Ivy that wants to prove other people wrong. Like, yeah, you think I'm not smart, but actually I am smart. Look, I got into Harvard and you didn't, blah, 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 whatever. Like, yeah, I understand that, and that's very valid. If you want to like shove it to the haters, another way to do it is just be successful in college. If you go to a state school and you get your scholarship entirely paid for and you start to get really impressive internships at NASA and Microsoft, nobody's gonna care that you didn't go to Harvard, okay? A lot of people go to Harvard and turn out to be total losers. I kind of include myself in that category, not to roast myself right now, but there are a lot of people in my high school that are way more successful than me and did not go to Harvard. So, you know what I mean? Like, be professional goals, personal goals, whatever. Might not actually be worth it for you to go. You might not need to go. There's a lot of reasons to go. There's a lot of reasons to not go, and I would just think about it, because going to an Ivy League does not make you smart. Being a smart in person, being intellectually curious is what makes you smart. A lot of those people end up going to Ivies because they get in, but that's not why they're smart. They were smart before they got there. They would be smart if they went to a state school. You would be smart if you went to a state school. You would be smart if you went to a school where you got scholarship. Even if you don't get scholarship and you just graduate college, that's a big deal. So everyone calm down. You're gonna go to a good school and you might even get money for it, which is amazing. Consider with Ivy Leagues, and this is just like a note to those of you who are listening and thinking, oh, but that doesn't apply to me, I need to go to an Ivy for a certain reason. For example, okay, I'm gonna call you out here because this is like low-key a call out of myself too. If you're like an immigrant kid, I'm like second-gen American, so for me, like me going up, Harvard was like low-key, I felt like I owed my family that, because I was like, wow, they've given me so many opportunities, I really need to take advantage of this, I need to show them that their sacrifices were worth it. That's the reason I need to go to an Ivy. So I felt like a lot of guilt in terms of not being smart enough. So I felt like I had to get in and to kind of pay them back, if that makes sense. If you feel that way, I want you to know that that's entirely valid. And I totally understand why you feel that way. And like, I think like 99% of people feel this way who are from immigrant families. Like, I really understand where you're coming from. I want you to know that your family's gonna be proud of you no matter what. And they're gonna be proud of you no matter what college you go to. You going to college is payback enough, okay? And if you don't go to college, be successful in another way. That is your payback to them. At the same time though, I also would like to say that I don't really think you owe them anything. Like, yes, obviously, you know, they've given you a lot, right? And it can feel it feels like you owe them something. You owe them kindness, perhaps, if they've been nice to you. Obviously, this is different if you have a bad family dynamic. You might owe them something, but it doesn't mean that you have a debt to them, if that makes sense. You can want to be nice to them. You can want to be a good person, but you don't need to do something to make them proud of you. Just be a good person and try to be nice and try to be smart, and that is your payback. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Here are the winners of last week's giveaway. Really quickly, before I get into why they won, I'll just say, if you want to win this week's giveaway, I'm starting grad school. I need some study tips. I need some tips about how to keep myself motivated. I need some tips about time management. I need some moral encouragement. I need basically anything you can give me. So if you leave me some tips and you leave me a piece of advice or a piece of motivation that I find particularly striking, you will win. So leave me your best tips. And I feel like all of you are applying to college and you're all much busier than I am. In all honesty, I've never been as busy as I was senior year of high school. So please leave me your tips. And if you leave me a good tip, you win. So yeah, leave them in the comments below. So this is what won last week. Or 2 weeks ago. This was a while ago. I'm gonna be honest, I've been really lazy with my videos, sorry. This one is really funny, thank you. Yes, I love this collab so much. Don't even get me started. Oh my God, these two are my oh my God. And they work so well together, like visually and also like their dance styles. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. Yeah, thank you very much. I also love your profile photo. I will make sure to put Itsy in my next little K-pop video. I haven't done a K-pop shout out in a while on his channel, but when I do it, I'll include this because obviously I love ITZY. Okay, this is another comment, really made me laugh. I'm intrigued, but also particularly by this point, but I'm never gonna read this because this sounds horrific, but this was really funny. And then these two, these don't even know that I entered them. I just really liked their comments, so I'm shouting them out here. This is kind of the point of this video too, so hopefully Kai Memes is watching, and you know, I'm saying the same thing here as I said last time. Please be careful with your caffeine intake, chingus, but obviously I loved this. Thank you so much. This really made me laugh. I sent this screenshot to like 30 people. I thought it was so funny. Okay, thanks everyone. I'll see you next time.